Mom and Dad. Harrison made up lies. That wasn't me. So I once asked my mother why she let me get a job when I was only 13 years old, and she told me that I would have had that job or died. And that may be true, but there was something else going on in my house that really helped my cause. At that point, my oldest sister Amber had already been out of house for a couple years, and my middle sister Megan was holding my parents hostage with this like hormone-fueled rampage that was having her threatened to have her sent to military school. And Megan and I fought constantly about everything, and occasionally it turned violent. The worst incident began with her chasing me through the house, threatening to kill me. And we were in a full sprint down the hallway, and as I took this first leap off the landing onto the stairs, she reaches out with her long fingers and grabs a fistful of my stringy red hair. And we stopped momentarily for her to pull the hair from her fingers in disgust and for me to examine my new bald spot. I screamed at her that she is the devil, because she was, and our chase resumes, and it ends with me trapping myself in her room at the end of the hall, and she's coming for me. And I know if she gets to me, she's going to, like in my mind, literally kill me. And so I look around and I grab the first object that I can find that can be used as a weapon, and I jump up onto her bed and kind of prepare myself for what is going to be our version of a cage match. And she enters the room, and I attempt to decapitate her with a perfume bottle, which is most likely CK1 because it was 1998. She ducks though, and the bottle had this beautiful beveled mirror, and it shatters when the perfume bottle hits it. And my mother was pissed. And clearly I should have taken like a little bit maybe of the blame for this, but Megan had almost no goodwill with my parents, and I had a bloody scalp. So at this point, I'm sure that my parents thought that me seeking employment would be safer not only for me, but also for their house, and sent me on my way to my first job. Child labor laws be damned. My early employment was also fueled by my father's obsession with instilling the strong work ethic in his offspring. He was and continues to be obsessed with work ethics, industriousness, avoiding laziness, etc., etc. So I'm sure that he was delighted when he found out that I'd be waiting tables the summer, I'd be bussing tables. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'd be bussing tables the summer after my 7th grade year. My best friends, Whitney and Kara, shared in his excitement. They were already employed at a restaurant in town called Forest Hill, and they would apparently pretty much hire anybody, so I seemed like a perfect fit. And if my parents weren't being drained of like their will to live by the malevolent force that was a 15-year-old Megan, maybe they would have taken a little bit of a closer look at the restaurant that hired me. They may have thought that anybody willing to hire this gaggle of 7th grade girls to to bus tables, there might not be a legit establishment. They were paying us under the table, and maybe they would have heard internal alarms going off when they learned that like the Czech-owned restaurant served Southern buffet items with the Eastern European flair. I mean, there's nothing okay about that. My first shift was on a Saturday, and my mother dropped me off in front of the unassuming building that she had never, not once, ever entered, because even from the parking lot you could smell this like Slavic hillbilly fusion cooking going on inside. But I arrived on time in my fresh khakis and my green Forest Hill shirt, ready to clean tables and collect the $3.50 an hour that I had been promised. Forest Hill ran primarily on the labor of undocumented men from the Czech Republic, which you may remember was formed in 1993. Not that I knew that. I was a jackass 7th grader who thought that I was hot shit because I was a bus girl now. Anyway, when you employ people who cannot legally work, whether they're undocumented or underage idiots, minimum wage really isn't your problem. And I don't know what the Czech guys made, but between me, Whitney, and Kara, we made altogether about $10 an hour. Speaking of the Czech guys, there were many. So many, in fact, that I soon learned that Forest Hill was more commonly known around town by another name, Foreign Hill. I recently texted Whitney to inquire who had coined this nickname, and her only response was, a genius. And I couldn't agree more. Fort Hill served a combination of traditional American food, burgers, steaks, pizza, but all alongside this Czech fare that I found to be especially unappealing. Think pork. All the varieties of pork, cabbage, sauerkraut, dumplings, and all alongside chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, banana pudding on a giant buffet. It was like a Western sizzling with like this communist twist. The restaurant had a large dining area and 2 large private rooms off to either side. And these rooms were used mostly for buses full of like pasty tourists that would visit Eureka, which, in case you don't know, is a town that uses a lot of words like Swiss and Alps in the names of their restaurant and hotels, but is almost exclusively visited by hillbillies. And these bovines on the bus would line up at the buffet and they'd fill their plates up with enough like white and beige food over and over again until their stomachs threatened to burst. And these were mighty stomachs, to say the least. And after they were herded back onto the bus to fill it with their 8,000 calories worth of farts, I would be responsible. Sorry, it's gross. But I'd be responsible for going into those rooms and getting it under control with no less than like 20 bus tubs and cleaning up these plates of like half-eaten ranch-covered salads and leftover gravy and endless pounds of uneaten kielbasa. It was truly disgusting. In my long history of restaurant service, these group rooms were the most revolting, and I am including 5-pound bags of tiny shrimp served on top of iceberg lettuce at a local pizza joint. We didn't actually believe these were shrimp back in the kitchen, but some sort of like marine substitute that was dyed hot pink. We called them scrimp. And we'd pay the stoners in the kitchen $5 to take a shot glass full of shrimp juice. Yeah, I regret nothing. So hiring underage workers was the least of Foreign Hill's possible legal problems. As I've said, most of the men working in the kitchen were undocumented and living in secret apartments in the roof of the restaurant. I know this because once, and only once, I accepted an invitation to get drunk with the immigrants and ventured upstairs to their apartments, where I found tiny rooms lined with thin mattresses on the floor, like some sort of nightmare sleepaway camp, or like I was in a movie where Liam Neeson might come in at any point to save me from being sold into a life of sexual slavery. Sorry, Mom and Dad. Immigration would come in and they'd clear everyone out, but the owners would have a fresh batch of clean-faced Czechs to work the restaurant like nothing had ever happened. It was upsetting. It really was. So when I started working at Foreign Hill, Whitney, my best friend, was working there already, like I've said, and she was in love with Duchamp. He was a dashing 20-year-old Czech man, and I immediately joined his teenage fan club. He flirted shamelessly with us and the rest of the 13-year-old bus girls, and he was also the first person to get us drunk. It's really less creepy than it sounds. The Czechs seem to have a much less like restrictive attitude towards alcohol, unlike my tyrant parents, who seem to have some sort of problem with children drinking. It's not very European of them. But Whitney, Kara, and I were very taken with the glasses of vodka and juice that Duchamp would provide us during our shifts, and at some point decided that we needed to take this sophistication out of the restaurant, onto the streets where we could show it off. And so we'd go up to the restaurant after school, and we'd dump out all of our school supplies, we'd give Duchamp our backpacks, he would take them into the beer cooler, fill them up, and hand them back over. Our beer of choice at that point in our young lives was Red Dog. And if you'll remember, Red Dog had caps that said things on the inside of them like, beer is good, but beers are better. I don't know what you're all thinking, like, damn, they are cool. Deshaun would occasionally deliver beer to us also. But when I say deliver, really I mean he would throw it in a ditch a few miles away from where we were and go to the actual party. But we appreciated what we could get, and we were willing to walk miles to sip warm Red Dog. Here's waiting. To sip warm Red Dog, jump into ditches when we saw car lights, and laugh until we peed our pants. Deshaun was instrumental in helping us learn how to manipulate adults and stealthily navigate alcohol deliveries in rough conditions, all while keeping our parents convinced that we were good little girls. We were also learning how to bully people, like as a group, which is something that every teenage girl needs to learn. Kaja worked in the kitchen, and unlike Deshaun, who worked out front waiting tables, and Kaja had this collector's eye for mesh football jerseys. He had them in every color, and regardless of the season, he wore them to work, to anywhere else that he went. And we weren't shy about antagonizing people that we worked with at Foreign Hill, but we gave it to Kaja especially hard. And this is because Kaja was also known around work as Chimney Charlie. Him and his wife had a fairly rocky relationship, and I guess one night they had gotten into a fight, and she had kicked him out of the house. And this set off a chain of events for Kaja that would haunt him for quite a while. He went out and got drunk. Afterwards, he returned home hoping to be let into his home. His wife was having none of it and wouldn't open the door, so he climbed up the side of the house, forced himself into the chimney, and then he waited. And it took firemen and EMTs several hours to get him free, but once he was let loose at the chimney, his nickname was born. And I don't know who decided that it was appropriate or a good idea to tell this like 13-year-old us girl squad this humiliating story, but we put it to good use. Chimney Charlie, can you help me with this bus tub? And the elves are coming. It's almost, Christmas is coming. Have the elves made all your toys, Chimney Charlie? We were a bunch of little bitches, and he repeatedly asked us to stop, and we didn't. And he would lash out and yell at us, which just made it even more funny. And I just, I can't imagine as like a human in the world at my job, a whole bunch of 7th grade girls being there all the time, mocking me. And I just think that I would probably go insane as well. But eventually we would leave Foreign Hill to go work at other more legal establishments. And but Foreign Hill taught me so much during those tenure years that getting a paycheck is awesome, even if it is meager, and even if you immediately spend it on like skanky Mexican weed. And that you can teach yourself to like beer because nobody has tasted Red Dog and said, this is delicious. I need more of this immediately. I've said for years that people who don't like beer aren't trying hard enough. It takes a little bit of dedication. But most importantly, and I would carry this with me throughout high school and use it every day, Foreign Hill taught me how to be the sneakiest little shit imaginable. I was bad in high school, like bad. But I kept my shit together. I made my grades. I was captain of the basketball team. I was on the junior bank board. The list goes on. Nobody needed to know that I was leaving school at lunch to go smoke pot. And definitely nobody needed to know that I was getting drunk in windowless rooms with undocumented Czechoslovakians when I was 13 years old. My parents certainly aren't happy about it. I can see them. But really what everybody should be taking away from this is like, hey, don't trust a 13-year-old girls. They're liars. The Foreign Hill management shouldn't have trusted us. We stole from them without the slightest hesitation for 2 years, and our parents definitely shouldn't have trusted us in any regard. We're bad news, and we played on their perception that we were still like sweet, innocent little girls long past the years that we actually were. And I personally know several of you out there right now who have teenage girls at home. So take it from me, do yourself a favor, just go lock them up.